Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. In most typical 12-month calendars in the US that include national holidays, October the 11th is recognized as Columbus Day. But for 4 years now, Los Angeles has recognized October the 11th as Indigenous Peoples Day. This year, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell was joined by Mayor Eric Garcetti, Councilmember Kevin DeLeon, and Native American leaders to mark the city holiday with the announcement of the Indigenous Land Initiative. Take a look.
And the buildings that we are here were built on the slave labor of Native inhabitants, and we are sorry. We're sorry as a city for all the things that were done as a Spanish city, a Mexican city, an American city, to erase the peoples whose land this is and always will be.
This is one of those quantum leaps that history will look back at and realize that this is one of those defining moments wherein we actually are putting together a process to return indigenous land to the local tribes.
Este día significa nuestra visión de inclusión, una ciudad donde toda la gente pertenece. Y por los tribus, aquí, los inhabitantes originales, es muy importante porque este no es un día para marcar el pasado, para hacer la historia hoy. Y dar esta tierra a la gente original. Y con este es un paso de muchos pasos, finalmente a escribir un nuevo capítulo, capítulo de justicia, capítulo de amor, capítulo de inclusión para toda la gente.
I think it's all positive, and I'm real moved by it, by this whole thing, because of the people's contribution, the people's dedication to this. It's like something that a dream I had, but it was never finished. And now I'm seeing it develop and come true.
We can learn from those past mistakes and finally recognize the contributions that Indigenous people have made throughout history in public service and academia, in business, in politics, and arts, as well as so many other fields.
All land is indigenous. And if we don't recognize that and celebrate that, and appreciate the sacrifices made by everyone who was here before any of us were, only then can we have a future that is really worthy of all residents in the city, indigenous and not indigenous.
It's a great depiction of what it means when we all come together as Native people, you know? Proper representation, land acknowledgement, and honoring the people of this land, the first people, is very important in anything that you do. So to see everyone coming together, to see the government and the city officials and everyone kind of back that and really push the initiative to try to make that a reality is really special. So I'm happy that in my lifetime I get to see it.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell is the first Native American to serve on the Los Angeles City Council and prides himself in preserving the traditions of his heritage. Later in the program, we'll visit festivities in Leimert Park, where another cultural tradition, one from the African diaspora, takes the spotlight. Mayor Eric Garcetti and City Council members Mitch O'Farrell and Paul Krikorian were recently on hand to announce a $30 million investment in renewable energy infrastructure. The City Council-approved motion aims to bring significantly more solar power to city facilities over the next 13 years.
We are putting an unprecedented $30 million down on our renewable energy future.
And the previous iteration of investment in photovoltaic and renewable energy was $4 million from the City Council. This is 30. That's real skin in the game because we're serious about getting to 100% renewable in 13 years.
The more that we can bring solar online throughout the city, not just with respect to the department's infrastructure, but throughout the city of LA, along with battery storage, the quicker we'll get to a carbon-free future Los Angeles. DWP's role in all of this is to provide technical assistance in terms of installing these facilities and making all of this come together for the city.
Angelenos are vested in the success of this. We don't want to leave anyone out. We don't want to leave anyone behind. And I think that's what people are craving. So they can get on board and take ownership. It's going to take the success of all of us and the energy of everyone, the leadership and the constituencies. And I'm optimistic that we'll be able to do that because The alternative is not acceptable. We've got to disrupt climate change right now. There's no time to waste.
It's no longer the science, it's the reality of our lives. As the city gets hotter, as weather conditions become more erratic, I think that will help people determine that we need to come up with better solutions to how we generate power, not only in LA, but across the planet.
Cities will lead the way in 2021. This will be the largest government pledge anywhere on the face of the earth this year, and one of the largest in human history.
I hope that our friends in Sacramento will be watching what we're doing here in Los Angeles. And I especially hope that our friends in Washington, D.C. will watch what we're doing here in Los Angeles. We have an opportunity as a society to follow the leadership of Los Angeles and transform the economy of America in a way that will preserve our planet and preserve good jobs throughout America. So we're taking the first steps. I hope the rest of the country will soon follow us.
We move from harnessing the energy of the sun to staving off the extra we don't need. The Bureau of Street Services get an assist from Mayor Eric Garcetti as they kick off the second phase of the Cool Streets LA program aimed at confronting climate change on the street level.
We've been doing research on this cool pavement technology for several years, and we started off in a parking lot. Now we're going on a more massive scale, bigger scale, like say we're going to do, say, 40 particular streets in this particular neighborhood.
This technology has been around for over 25 years and originally started on crosswalks. Since then, have evolved to a solar reflective color that we first used with the LAUSD schools, in which they've done over 50 schools in elementary and middle school to help cool that surface. And then later came to this, where the city of LA came to us and said, hey, can we use that on our streets to help cool our streets and help combat urban heat island? So that's what we're doing here.
We want to make sure that we're a city at the front end of reducing the impact of climate change. It isn't just about reducing our emissions and stopping climate change from happening. It's about somebody who lives here today, a senior who needs to get to the market, a kid waiting at a bus stop. What can we do to lower the temperatures by as much as 20 degrees right here on the street and a couple degrees even around here? That's what the Cool Pavement's all about. What's neat about it is Los Angeles was the very first city in America to try this. It's not only spreading across the country now, as it spreads across our streets, it's spreading across the world.
And while the Bureau of Street Services turn their focus to cooler streets in our neighborhoods, the Department of Recreation and Parks cuts the ribbon on a new cool place to skateboard in Council District 9. Check it out.
Man, I'm telling you, I couldn't think of if you're going to go to a park on a Saturday afternoon, this is what you want it to look like, right? Well, we're opening up our 29th skate park here in Rec and Parks here at Trinity Rec Center. Skateboarding is, a sport that kids are drawn to.
It's community youth who advocated for it.
Unfortunately, a lot of gang violence, a lot of kids getting into wrong things, a lot of kids, going the wrong paths, following the wrong people. But when they're around, when they come to a skate park, they see individuals that look like them or the individuals they could look up to. Then it motivates them to keep getting better. So now they got a brighter future than we have.
And this skate park would never have happened without your Councilmember Curran Price. The funding for this park was directly because of what he does.
Unfortunately, we've got a deficit in our community. Frequently, we don't have enough green spaces. So I have been championing our green space, our parks, since I came into office, dedicating almost $80 million.
It just helps as the skaters to connect with each other and bond with each other and to be able to call this our home and our skate park.
So, teniendo este parque ayuda a que los niños tengan un espacio donde puedan socializar con otros niños, pero también prevenir cualquier cosa mala de la calle y tener un espacio donde pueden estar seguros aquí en su comunidad.
This is your park. It's not the city of Los Angeles. This is your park. This is your park, the community's park. We need to put things here that you want, not what we want. What you want and what you need.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This means a lot.
LA City Attorney Mike Feuer targets illegal nightclubs in Hollywood. The Los Angeles Police Department honors Rose Ochi, and a city-owned bank moves another step forward towards becoming a reality. These stories up next on City Beat.
As part of his ongoing focus on public safety, Los Angeles City Attorney Mike Feuer has filed 17 criminal charges against 3 Hollywood businesses that are allegedly operating illegally. The businesses, 2 alleged underground nightclubs and 1 alleged underground casino, appear to be operating without permits or licenses. The Hollywood division of LAPD was made aware of the activities through a series of tips from the Crime Stoppers hotline. Hotline complaints reported gunfire and gun violence in close proximity of a residential area and schools. To anonymously report criminal activity in your area, call toll-free 800-222-8477. Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore unveiled a plaque dedicated in honor of former Commissioner Rose Matsui Ochi. Ochi was the first Asian American to ever serve as a Los Angeles Police Commissioner. She was instrumental in helping to craft policies and procedures that focused on departmental equity and inclusion. Her contributions and influence reflect the credo of the LA Police Academy, quality through continuous improvement. A plaque now memorializes the work of Rose Ochi in the courtyard of the Los Angeles Police Academy in Elysium Park. The Los Angeles City Council has voted to begin a process to study the feasibility of forming a city-owned bank. In accordance with the Los Angeles City Charter, the successful vote now empowers the legislative secretary to draft and release a request for proposals, or RFP. This RFP will allow for a comprehensive search to find qualified consultants and/or contractors to analyze the possibilities in creating a public bank of LA. LA Public Bank would be able to invest in areas such as expanding credit access for small businesses and local infrastructure projects. To learn more, visit publicbankla.com.
The role of law enforcement evolves with the needs and priorities of the community that it serves. We sat down with Senior Lead Officer Danny Chow from LAPD headquarters. As a career officer who wanted to be a cop since he was a kid, Officer Chow reflects on his career and the community relations he has built with Angelenos.
When I was growing up, police officers kind of like my idol. While I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to work with some of the Los Angeles police officers. Just by talking to them and getting to know them, I've gained a lot of insights about police work and what they do. I've discovered that it's a really exciting, rewarding, and challenging career. The biggest positive change that I've seen throughout my career with the LAPD is, I think back in the days, we used to just hook and book. Now, throughout the years, our main focus is on community policing. We must partner with our community, gain trust with them, so this way they can help us in fighting crime. My role as the Asian Pacific Islander Community Liaison, I do outreach to our community leaders. I build relationship with our business partners, Chinese American Chamber of Commerce. So this way we can gain a better insight as to improve our community relations efforts and also to exchange ideas as well. Currently, we have 9,383 officers. We definitely in desperate need of 600 more. So with that being said, I strongly encourage everybody to apply. This is definitely a great career. It's a challenging, exciting, rewarding career. We offer great benefits, various work assignments. We have 250 different type of diverse assignments. Also provide good living for yourself and your family.
The Department of Disability continued its 4-year tradition of promoting disabled filmmakers, actors, and stories with a 3-day film event, the 2021 ReelAbilities Film Festival Los Angeles. The festival presented a wide variety of discussion panels and film screenings that bolster the department's mission and theme. Disability is diversity. Check this out.
The ReelAbilities Film Festival is a series of festivals that are across North America. It started in New York about 13 years ago, and here in Los Angeles we're having our fourth ReelAbilities Film Festival Los Angeles. The festival celebrates the lived experience of people with disabilities and their diversity, and we talk about the disability issues and people living with disabilities in front of the camera and behind the camera, who's making the films that we see. On our first year, we were a live film festival. We were up at Lemley, North Hollywood. Our second year, we got much bigger, went up to Universal Studios and City Walk and the AMC there. But, you know, COVID showed up, and we need to not be in a live theater. But going digital and going virtual was really an important way we could build our audience, to make sure that all people had access to see the festival, whether they could physically attend or not. We're in the heart of Hollywood here, right? And here's where we need to be talking about the lives of people with disabilities in film and on television. And so it's really important, if we're committed to making all the city's programs, services, and activities accessible, that we make sure our business partners, our entertainment partners, our Hollywood partners are accessible as well. And again, that's literally jobs for people with disabilities, and it's telling the stories that we need to see. It's so important that LA is at the forefront of the ReelAbilities movement. You know, it is October, we're getting close to Halloween. Our Saturday night midnight movie, which actually starts at 8, is Defula. It's a 1975-76 black and white film, all in American Sign Language. The first full-length film in American Sign Language. It's extraordinary, and the city has just reached out to have the film restored so we can show it at the festival. We're showing Campeones. It's our first full Spanish language film. It's actually from Spain. It's a wonderful, wonderful exploration, again, of sports and the IDD, intellectual and developmentally disabled community. It's fun, it's poignant. The shorts, I gotta tell you, I just love all the shorts. These are extraordinary, you know, movies that range from 3 minutes to about 20 minutes that, again, tell stories of people's lives that sometimes the general public just can't imagine. They're all beautiful. Please join us for the ReelAbilities Film Festival Los Angeles 2021 from Friday, October 15th to Sunday, October 17th, ReelAbilitiesLA.org.
Now in its 9th year, the Festa Italiana has returned to San Pedro. The Little Italy of Los Angeles Association and Councilmember Joe Buscaino from Council District 15 hosted the family-friendly street fair that celebrates Italian Heritage Month.
October is Italian Heritage Month, and this is a good old-fashioned Italian street fair. We're here in the heart of Little Italy of Los Angeles, and we're celebrating Italian culture, Italian food, and the contributions that Italian people have made to the Los Angeles region.
Here in Little Italy, San Pedro, home of the largest Italian American community in Los Angeles, we have gathered to kick off our Italian Heritage Month, expecting a lot of great food, entertainment, good people coming together. And we have been waiting for this coming out of this pandemic. Happy to see everyone finally reunited safely. As a son of Italian immigrants and council member representing the 15th Council District, it was important for me to have a sense of place for Italian Americans throughout the greater Los Angeles area to come together, united, to share our story. If you look at the shadows of the Port of Los Angeles, many immigrants from Italy came to the port for the fishing industry, including my dad, who was a commercial fisherman. My mom worked at canneries, and it was important for us to have a sense of place to share our story and our contributions.
It's a great idea. It's my first time, so I don't know yet, but there's going to be music, and I've seen dancing already, and the local restaurants are a part of the business too. So San Pedro's a very different kind of town. People are close, and they've lived here a long time, and they have family here.
You know, San Pedro, we need that camaraderie and that old town spirit back again in this town. And I think it's a great idea to have these functions here. And hopefully we continue to do more and more often.
It's very important for me to come support my Italian heritage, and we need to have some more gelato from Italy. We need this place in San Pedro, and San Pedro has a very large Italian community, and everybody's very much together. I had to come and support no matter what.
This is our 9th year having this festival, and we are really proud to have the community come together for this.
Everybody has a favorite Italian food. What's yours?
My favorite Italian food is anything and everything that my mom makes.
San Pedro's own Little Italy is one of the largest communities of Italian Americans in Los Angeles. Later in the program, we will hear from LA's first Latina Council president as she reflects on her office and heritage. Throughout this month, Los Angeles as a city has had the privilege to lavish in a plethora of cultural celebrations. In this program alone, we've talked about our indigenous peoples and about our roots from south of the equator and east towards Europe. Now we celebrate and remember the communities who derive from Africa. Councilmember Margaret Lee Thomas was in attendance at Leimert Park for the recent Art of Drumming event. Check this out.
We're trying to raise the level. We're trying to raise the spirit. We're trying to raise the vibe. We're trying to get some unity in our community. And we're doing it through music.
The drum circle, the centerpiece of culture in terms of how communication and celebration happens. Leimert Park Village is the historically designated location of African drumming.
And everybody can play a little bit of percussion. Everybody claps their hands. We all sing. We play the drums, and then we have songs that go with the drums that tell a story in another language. We go back to languages that we used before we were slaves in this country. So the drum is fundamental to us as a people.
So us here in the culture of the diaspora of America, we have been, I would say, disconnected from that African roots in the African culture. So we just reignite it. And so that's what Leimert Park is about, reigniting our culture in our village.
African drumming and all of what it means to breathe breath into life, to speak the language of healing, to embrace communication. It happens in a festive, invigorated manner that's unmistakable. So I'm pleased that we are celebrating the ancestors and leaning forward to reach out to future generations to say, this is how we do it.
She is the first Latina to hold the title of Los Angeles City Council president. She is a tenacious advocate for women, and she attributes much of her success to strong family ties. Los Angeles City Council President Nury Martinez shares her insights on the meaning and importance of celebrating Latino Heritage Month.
Latino Heritage Month for me means, the representation of Latinos in Los Angeles. Not seeing too many people that sounded like me, that looked like me in positions of power. Who would have dreamed that a daughter of immigrants raised in Pacoima in the Northeast San Fernando Valley would be the first Latina council president in 170 years. Our parents worked really, really hard in this country to make the American dream happen for our families, and now to see us leading the way, it's not only incredibly rewarding, but it's something to really thank our parents for. My Mexican culture, our traditions and our values are centered around religion and food, and our language is so important. Politically, or in the business sector, or in Hollywood, in the arts, no matter what part of Los Angeles you're in, you will come across the Latino community or the Latino culture. I would say to really, I think to the younger generation, is to really be proud of who you are. I think identity is important. I think honoring where your parents came from and honoring their values and what they instilled in us is something that I hope that doesn't get lost with future generations.
In our feature story this week, Channel 35 speaks with Capri Maddox, the Executive Director of LA Civil Rights. Capri speaks to us about the mission of her department in both the public and private business spheres and her vision to help our city become a more equitable LA.
The Civil Human Rights and Equity Department is really created to address
racial injustices in Los Angeles, as well as making sure that we have a level playing field for all residents as we think about upward mobility programming and making sure that we help people get into the middle class and beyond. But our primary focus is our discrimination enforcement, to be sure that when someone violates your civil rights as it relates to commerce, education, employment, and housing in the private sector, that we have an enforcement arm to address some of those injustices. Our mission here is pretty simple. We want to definitely increase accountability, diversity, and inclusion in our city boundaries, and to focus on equity as well. And so we do this in a number of ways. Of course, our enforcement arm will allow us to bring justice to folks that feel like their civil rights have been violated in the private sector as it relates to commerce, education, employment, and housing. But we also have an equity lens of our operation, and we look at policies through the equity lens. It could be looking at the mayor's budget, thinking about how we respond to emergencies in the city, or even how to deal with the digital divide, food deserts, or the COVID-19 crisis. But I think it's really important to know that as we move forward, we have a number of things that we're doing even for racial harmony and inclusion in our city. And I think that fighting hate and discrimination isn't just something that happens overnight. It took a long time for us to get here. And so we're making sure that we're using all our avenues to deal with hate, discrimination, and inequities here in Los Angeles.
Join in as Pershing Square celebrates Latino heritage. Try your hand at creating a Dia de los Muertos altar, or join LA Made for an afternoon with author T.C. Boyle. All this up next on Things to Do.
Join the party as LA Department of Recreation and Parks teams up with Pershing Square to celebrate Latino heritage. Pershing Square's Latinx Festival promises the best of culture, music, food, community, and artisanal vendors. Bands scheduled to perform include Havana Secret, Mariachi Lindas Mexicanas, Azuquita Orquesta, and more. The festival is free for all ages. Don't miss Pershing Square's Latinx Festival, happening Sunday, October 24th, beginning at 2 p.m. For daily updates of food, bands, and vendors, visit facebook.com/Pershing Square LA. In the spirit of Dia de los Muertos, the Rio Hondo College Arts and Cultural Program brings you an intense and informative workshop on constructing the ofrenda, an altar built to honor lost loved ones. Join East LA's own esteemed altarista Ofelia Esparza as she shares 4 decades of knowledge, heritage, and craftsmanship. Learn how to make stunning and deeply meaningful ofrendas during this Latino season of remembrance. Rio Hondo Dia de los Muertos Community Altar Workshop Series streams on Facebook and YouTube Thursday, October 21st at noon. To check out the workshop, visit facebook.com/Rio Hondo Art. The Los Angeles Public Library invites you to log on to the latest edition of the LA Made Artist Lecture Series. Young adult librarian Karen Picard IV is joined by best-selling writer T.C. Boyle as he discusses his latest novel, Talk to Me. Boyle has recently been the recipient of the Mark Twain Voice in American Literature Award and is a distinguished professor of English Emeritus at the University of Southern California. You can catch LA Made, an afternoon with T.C. Boyle, Thursday, October 21st at 4 p.m. The lecture will be available on the library's YouTube and Facebook pages. And that's a look at some things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I am Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and we are also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.